Hello and welcome. In this session, we are diving into a powerful but often overlooked topic: how to build custom Docker images without using a Dockerfile. If you are new to Docker or just looking for alternative workflow, this is a great place to start. So today we will cover three techniques or three methods or three different ways to build custom Docker images. So we will start with first Docker commit. So this approach is very similar like what we do after installing our operating system or creating our virtual machine. After that, whatever tools we required, we install and configure the tools on that particular operating system. Similarly, in this approach, we will do the same thing. We will be launching a container from Ubuntu base image, and inside that we will manually install the packages and do the changes what we want. And in this, we will see how we can create a Docker image manually for Java based web application. And in next part, definitely we are going to see how we can create a Docker image using the Dockerfile. But this part or this technique is a completely foundation for that. So when you do things manually, you will have complete insight about what we are doing when we are doing it with the Dockerfile. That's why I thought to go ahead and first see how we can configure or create the image using this approach. Okay. After that, we will be seeing the Docker export or import. This approach is very useful when you have a running container, or maybe like your container is running in production and you want to create a image out of that container to, let's say, for the debugging or some other purpose, all right, or for sharing or maybe creating a base image. So this approach is best for that. Next, we will see the Docker save and load, which is I personally used for the archiving and backup purpose. Okay, so these three approaches we are going to see in today's session. Before we go ahead, I would like to personally acknowledge and thank each and every one of you for your kind support and love which you are providing to our channel. That's really, really big deal for us. Thank you very much for that. Additionally, thank you these guys as well for providing their feedback to previous session of the day 6, the containerization. Thank you. If you also want to provide your feedback, please do so. That keeps us motivated to bring the more contents like this. So thank you very much for that. And these are our social media handles. Would love to stay in touch with you. Okay, so this is completely hands-on session. Let's go ahead and get our hands dirty by switching to the terminal. Okay, so let's quickly check whether Docker is working. Yes, it's completely fine. Docker version. Let's check the server. Yeah, so that is also working and that's completely fine. So Docker images, we don't have any image. Docker es-a, again, Docker es-a, no, and we also have a container this. Okay, and we can also say like this. So we do not have any running container, any images. Our Docker is working fine, and we are using Docker version 28 as of now, which is available. First thing first, here we will create a Docker image from a running container, or I would say the manual image we will create. Okay, so why do you need to create manual image? So as per my experience, if you know how things can be done manually, then you could do those things in more sophisticated way when you do the automation. So that's, as per my experience, that's my understanding. That's how I learn. If you don't like it, or I mean, don't like it means you don't want to create manual images, we will also see how we can write our own Docker files and then create image from there. So that is also another way. So based on my experience, it's good to know how we can do things manually and then we can do it with the automation, right? So let's create first. So I will run Docker run and right, and it says okay, pulling image from library. So we do not have any image. Now we have the image available. So Docker images, that's okay. But we executed a command to run container here. Docker run Ubuntu. So if I need to check my running container, right, I could see Docker PS, but still I cannot see the container, and container exited 24 seconds ago, right? So we know why this happened, what's the reason behind this, because of this command. Okay, that what we discuss in very detail in our part 1 of this section, not section of day 6, right? So feel free to refresh why it is happening. So I'm gonna directly create another container, right? So let's say Docker run, or first let me clean the terminal. Okay, so Docker run and dash it and dash not run Ubuntu, and when I hit tab, it's auto completed, and now I'm in the container. Okay, and if I say hostname, so we know hostname is this one, the ID of the container. Okay, so after installation of your Ubuntu operating system, if you need to use Vim editor, you install Vim, and if you need to use Git, you install Git on top of your virtual machine or Ubuntu operating system or any Linux operating systems. And we also know this hash means, which we discussed in our day 1 Linux for DevOps part, very detailed. What is this? So this hash prompt, it means it's a root, right? It's all the commands which we are gonna use is going to executed as a root. So if I execute this command, who am I? So I'm here. So by default, Docker executes everything with the root user. We can also change this, and we will see this in later, but step by step. Okay, so very first thing, I know first time I run the command sudo, but here we don't need to do sudo, right? Because we are at root, apt update and dash y. Okay, let's see. Let it be update. So 18 packages can be upgraded. Run this. Okay, that's fine. Our repository get refreshed. Let me clear. Now I will install, let's say apt install git. Let's say my use case is using a git, or I want to share a container that can be used to execute git commands or git related workload, right? So that's what I can do. Additionally, I could also say git install vim, right? And let's install this. I said dash y, right? So it means it's automatically installed everything, right? Now what I'm going to do, let's go to the another terminal where we can see the running container. Yes, this is the running container, right? And in order to create image for vim editor, okay, the Ubuntu which has vim editor, okay, so what I can simply type the command docker commit, okay, and you could also, sorry, docker commit, and copy this and commit and the container ID, or you could also use a container name, right? So I'm using container ID, and I would like to give it name Day-6-Part-3, let's say Vim, okay, and save. And now docker images, and you could see we have 4 seconds ago created this image, right? That's the beauty. Now let's see if we could use this container image or not. Fine, so run docker run dash it, and I will use this docker name, okay, and I'm in. So I must see the vim here. I am in. I can use the vim, and if you see, this container is different than this one. Okay, so here it's a 6A and it's start with 97. All right, so I can exit this. Done. Now if I run command docker ps, so I could only see only one container which is running at the moment, right over here. Very simple, very easy, right? So let's make it more cool, right? So how we can make it more cool? So for that I have created one script. Let me show you. So for example, okay, so it's my use case. I need to use Vim editor again and again. So I have this image, I can spin up a container, I can do my work, and once my work is done, I can exit, and then container will also go away, right? So okay, that's a one thing. Another thing, so let's clear the screen. So in the same, what I can do, if I want to install, right, let's say I want to for my web-based application that we will see in later, we will write our own Dockerfile. But here, let's say manual way, if I want to use or I want to install Tomcat, right? Or not Tomcat, I mean, I want to deploy my web app, right? Or any, let's say Java based web app, right? We want to, so we need a Tomcat engine, right? In order to do that, I can say apt install, let's say Tomcat 10, right? And for simple, I can use this one and -y, right? And in order to run Tomcat, I also need to install Java, right? And I also need to install Maven to build my application, right? So everything I can do it. So it's an easier way. I would say you try this way, okay? But in order to show it more other way, I have created one bash script, right? Let's say script.sh or whatever like name we want to give. So I inserted this and it is right over here. So what basically this script does, let's first see this and then I'll explain you, okay? And I will also share this script with you. So there is a simple command bash script.sh. So it will go ahead and do and perform everything for you, okay? So it will install Java, it will install Maven, it will install Tomcat, right? Everything instead of manually, because it takes a lot of time. So I just use it. I created this shell script by which we could have everything in place, okay? And once it is done, then it will also give you what happened. So like dependencies installed, downloading, installing, right? It checks Maven version is 3.9, right? It also checks Java version. So it says Maven is ready to use, Tomcat installed successfully, and it also starts a Tomcat server, okay? And these are the some environment variable. We will be seeing later how we can or how we would be using this kind of environment variable in Dockerfile later on. But at the moment, I think this is enough. And you could say it says Tomcat is running and access over here. So localhost, I do not have anything, but what I could do, I could say workstation 1 .3 dot local, and it says on port 80. Okay, so failed to connect. Let's port 8080. Okay, so of course there you will not able to see anything even when you do it on local host, right? So local host even 8080. So let's give it a try. I know 12 and failed to connect to localhost at port 8080. Couldn't connect to server, right? But we will see this later on. Okay, and you could see OpenJTK version, Maven, and Tomcat. Everything is over here, and it also say install at this location. Let me quickly show you the script, and then we will go ahead and see this. Okay, so here, see, this line number 12, right, which is going to install wget tar openjdk21. Right here you could see the maven URL, which is going to download the tar file and doing all this stuff, right, creating wget tar, extracting, removing, echoing, and similarly it is also doing the same thing for Tomcat as well. Okay, so you could see here is the start Tomcat, the summary of the installation. So very pretty much simple. It doesn't do anything, but it does save almost 15-20 minutes if I go ahead and do all this thing manually. Okay, so I told you you could also use another way instead of you going ahead and use this way, right? Go ahead and use apt install jdk and maven tomcat, and then go ahead and save the or commit the container and create image out of that. I will also share this script. You can also do this thing. Okay, but this is more better way. It will give you more insight about this. Okay, so it's up to you, however you like. So now my container is ready. Let's go back over here and I can check docker ps. Okay, and I know I use this docker dsoc vim, right, image. So same, then we are creating another image manually, docker commit, and I would use this image id, and after that I have to give a name. So let's say dsoc dsoc 3 manual mow not mow manual tomcat, right? So let's go ahead and use this manual tomcat, right? So now I have image docker images, right, this one. And additionally, if you see over here, it says 8080, right? That's we talk already in very detail when we start our Jenkins section, right? And we know that Tomcat listens on 8080, so nothing or no special in this. Okay, but these are the all the summary just for your information. So now let me exit. So my container is exit. Now I have to run a docker image out of it. So how can I run docker run? I can use rm. So rm is a command. When your container exits, it will automatically remove. Okay, so we are just, and it is really good when you are doing testing. So I'm just showing you demo. I don't want to end up with lots of container on my system, right? So that's why I'm using this one. So docker rm. I will also show you when you cannot use it during this demo. So at the moment it's fine, docker run rm, and we can say okay, port number, and this time I use 8080, and yes, we also just I mean we talk about this port forwarding, right? So when we create our docker file, we are coming on that. So I will show you how you can customize the port, what things you need to use to expose the port, but just see how we can use, right? So we know first port where we want to access this application or service, and second is the port of the container port, right, inside of the container. So here this is a thing I can use this image name, and additionally what I need to do, bin bash. Okay, so this is how, or this is the way we can execute any command at runtime. We will see this, but just for this image which we created, we need to do this, otherwise our container will not come up. We already talked in our part 1 of this. So how I'm finding this information, so user local, of course, because I created this, so I know where I have to go and see. So tomcat, but very simple information, right? So here, that's why we have given all this stuff. Okay, so tomcat right? So I can copy this Catalina base, and this is the home. So both are the same over here, right? And you could also see the class path. So we know Java, what happened, what it means, the class path means, right? So here it's our jar, which where we are giving the entire the path of this, right? Bootstrap.jar. Okay, so let's not go much more into this one, but let me copy the home. Okay, and here remove this, copy this Tomcat, right? And after that, inside this, what I need to do first, I will show you what we are looking for. So let's first list the files. RT, and okay, so you could see inside this, or maybe let's do this. Okay, it's done. Yes, of course it is going to be exited because we asked to execute this command, right? And it gives us this details. So let me show you one more command. So first, go ahead, clear the screen, and yeah, Tomcat. And here I need to give bin, and inside bin we have one file. Okay, and then file is startup.sh. Okay, this is one of the file we are interested, or we want this to be executed. So here, this is Docker run port DSOC3. It's my image name. Okay, and here we have to define the shell which we want to access. So in case, my case, bash and dash c dash dash c, it means it's a command. So we are telling, okay, consider of this string after whatever is written as a command. So here we need two things. So one thing is this one, user local tomcat bin startup. Second thing we need, and we can say and ampersand, right? Tell. Okay, so if you don't use this, let's first see this. Okay, so tomcat is started, docker ps, but my container didn't come up, right? So it exited. Of course it won't show over here because I use the rm, right? So it means it's tomcat service gets started, and after that it exited, and because of that, this dash dash rm, it got deleted as well. So I need something that continuously listen or attach with the terminal, right? Or the service I want to run. So we will see how we can run this, but so in order to do this, we have this option. So same we can use over here, right? Tomcat, and inside that I have to logs and Catalina. Okay, so Catalina is a service, right? It's a file which contains some information, right? The log related. So here Catalina.out. Okay, so this file, and now let's see. And it says line 1, permission denied. Why so? Yeah, of course. So I made a mistake. So here, what I need to do, I have to execute a command tell, and tell dash f. So we know that it's a tell is a Linux command, right? And now boom. So now what happened? This file, right, which is tell. So tell commands continuously throwing us the logs of the server, right? That's why the container didn't get exited, right? And all this information is already over here. If you want, go ahead and look. So let me quickly show you one more thing. Docker ps, and you could see over this container, and if I go, and now so 8080, right, my Tomcat server is up and running on this. So server status I could check, access denied of course, and manage app host manager. But yeah, this page, it means we can see the Tomcat container, and that's how you see, or that's how you create the manual way of the your container. So you spin up the container, you install all the packages, okay, and inside the packages, and once you are done with it, you said okay, everything is fine. After that, you save the container. Here save it means commit the container, okay, and by committing that, you could save as an image, and then you can use it. So when it is useful, so it is useful when you have some kind of use case, right, where you need to install some of the services where you do not have any Docker images available, right? So I did this before, and I know where I this option is really helpful when you have those kind of use cases where you could not find the Docker images for your particular use case. Okay, so that's how you create your own Docker image manually. Okay, so let me go ahead on this, and I say Control C, and we have done with this. And if I execute this command, but still it is there, right? So, let's stop this. Yeah, let's see. Okay. So container got stop, and of course when, so it's a no service at all, right? So it cannot find any service. So I can also say docker remove this container, and I have removed a error response from the uh, okay, docker or docker ps-a. Yeah, okay, fine. Anyways, so it's already removed. Okay, so I use the option, right, dash rm here. Okay, so remember what is important over here. You need to start, okay, the service of the Tomcat using this command, and then you have to also tell the logs, okay. In that way your container will alive, okay, when you are using with the Ubuntu image. Okay, so this is one thing, right? Next thing, we can see the image from a container. Okay, so of course first way we saw already with the manual one. Now what we can do, we can have another way. Okay, so another way is just to you can create a Docker image out of a Docker container itself. Okay, so at the moment, do I have any container? Sorry, PA, Docker PS. It's both are an adjacent key, so it happens. And okay, okay, so let me quickly do one thing. Instead of this, let me do this detached. Okay, so when we stop this container, it will go. Anyway, so now we have this container. Okay, or maybe we could show you over here, that is more visible or visible, right? And you can see this is our container, which is 12 seconds. So in order to create image from the container, what you could do over here, you could run a command docker, okay, and export. And what you can export, so we use container ID before, this time we use the container name. Okay, so it's just a random name. We know how we can give a name as well. And you need to use dash o, right, and dash o, and let's see what we have given the name. Okay, so this was Tomcat manual, so I could say this, so I copy this one. You could give any name, whatever you want to give. Okay, so instead of that, I'm just, for sake of simplicity, we know what we have done, export. So I will use this as is, export dash Tomcat. This one. Okay, and I'm done. It's very simple, right? So from container, okay, you could use an image from any container to, and it will export this as a your ID demonstrate. Sorry, what? Let's check. Okay. Hmm. So okay, fine. So let me do it again. So in order to export, you need to we export this in a tar way. Okay, or maybe I can copy this command, clear the screen, because the here is the bigger one. Okay, tar. So what we are doing over here, basically we are exporting this container in tar file. And why and where is this helpful? So this method is useful for backing up, migrating, or reusing an existing container. So sometimes it is required, you need to export, right, like this. And then now you could see docker ls-lrt, and here we have this file, right? I could also say ls l, and this one again didn't go well. Anyways, so here, right, we have wow. So before we executed this command, let me clear the screen. Okay, right, we executed this command, then we got this file, right, tar file. Now what I have to do, I have to, before I export, right, now I need to import this in order to use the files. Okay, so let's say, sorry, docker import, and I can use the name. And before that, I can give a name this as is, but before that, I'll show you something. Docker images again. Okay, so we do not have any exported image. So let me go ahead and use this Docker import. Right? So let me delete this Docker import. This is the name of the file. Okay, tar we created, and I just copy this and paste this as this. Okay, we do not have any exported Tomcat image. So once we will do this, this is going to be create one image for us, right? So first we export it, right, in this command, a container with name. So it's the same thing. So like manual one, when you created and some other your teammates, or you have to share with somebody, right, and you are do not have remote registry, or registrations a place where you can share. So that this is also one of the way, and I also mentioned this is one of the way for the backup as well if you want to check, right? So now we have this one, and you could see the time created, it's 20 seconds ago, right? So this is our second way, right, creating docker image from container, right? One more way to create image, so that is one image from docker image itself, right? So for that, what we can do, let me go ahead and see first images, right? So for that we have a command, right, docker save. So first I showed you the commit, right? Second is the import, export. Now we have another command, not doctor, docker save, right? So for this, what we can do, so docker save, and let's say I want to use this one. Okay, so sorry, say copy, paste, DSOC3 export Tomcat. Okay, if you want, so add the your tag. So you see, I did not mention any of the tags, right? So automatically Docker provided a default, or this tag is lattice. So this is your Docker save command, and this is the image. So when you are doing this, it's better to use tag, right? That will give you, or that you know what is this image about, right? So I'm gonna now do O, and I have to use this as a name. So instead of this one, let me again, I mean, it's already copied. So instead of export, this is save. Okay, and Tomcat, and of course it is gonna be tar. Let's do this. So we are in this command, we are saving this image and doing the tar one like this. So okay, if I do ls-l and copy this name, we have this one, right? Or I could also say like this, ls-l star dot tar. So we have two tar files, right? This and this one. Okay. Now, so of course, if you have to send it somewhere or ship it somebody, so you can simply share the star file, right? Because it's a save option we created for the save, right? I just give it a name to explain this, so you could give any name, whatever or however you like. Okay, so DSOC3 save tomcat.tar, and this is the command to save, right? Before it was export and then import, but in this case you have Docker save. So now we can do Docker, and in order to get image out of this, right, you could, okay, before that I will do one thing. I will remove this image. Okay, Docker RMI. Let's see. Okay, so this image is deleted, and we do not have this image anymore, right? Manual. So we deleted, exported, right? And we have this save. So now let's clear the screen, and let's say docker save. Okay, and after saving the command, sorry, we already did save. We have to run command docker load, right? So docker load, and what is your tar file name? Okay, and let's just give it a same name. Okay, dsoc3 save tomcat. And if I say docker images, and we do not have this image, okay, let's see. Okay, let's see what is this. Let me see what I'm missing over here. Docker load dash help. Okay, so we need to provide that what I was missing. So that's how help useful. Docker load, and it says after load input, and this is my input, right? And this is my, I want this as an output. Let me clear the screen and execute this command. Still okay, my bad. So it started loading the Docker image into the system, the Docker system. Okay, so you could see it doesn't allow us to give the image name. So let's see, Docker. Okay, so we had deleted this export Tomcat, right? And it says 7 minutes ago, which is true. But when we load this again, so it, whatever name you gave, it doesn't matter, it gives a SS. So if your use case where you need to rename this Docker image, we will see that. So before that or after that, you can use the tags to rename this Docker image itself. Okay, so this is one of the another way. And of course this is gonna be working image. If you want to test out, you could test it again. So it's the same Docker -p. Okay, so I can see I can use the same one, right? And this time I can use export. Let's try it just to show you it works. Okay, very good. And because we have already this, so let's try it on another port input. Okay, fine. So Docker vs, and now we have another Tomcat server 818080. So we expose the port like this, and here say 18080. Yep, our Tomcat is working, right? So Docker, now this is how you create the Docker image. So I have shown you three ways to create. First one is manually, where you run a Ubuntu container, and out of that you install a package, and then you can commit that with the container ID, right? Second, so that was the command docker commit, right? And here container ID. Okay, and that was the one of the way by which we saw how we can create a Docker image. Second one was the with the Docker container, right? So in from Docker container, right? So there was a way Docker, and instead of that commit, we use the option export, right? And export is also the same one, like CO underscore ID or the name, right? And after that you use this option -o, right? And the x.tar or whatever the tar file, right? And third way we saw it's from the image, so that was also the save and load, right? So docker save is another way which we saw. So there are three ways we have seen to create Docker images, right? So these are though all those are manual way to create your own Docker image, right? So now we are ready to see how we can create the Docker images using a Docker file. All right, it's time to move on to the conclusion. So today we have learned all these three different approaches or ways or methods to create the custom Docker images manually. In next session, we will be extending this session to learn custom Docker images using Dockerfile. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, any thought, or you want to provide your feedback, or if you have any concern, please drop them in the comments. Or if you want, you could also write us through this email ID. And once again, thanks a lot for your kind supported love. Thanks a lot for that. See you next week with part 4 completely for the Docker file. Until then, bye bye.